What are the 10 actions that you can take today to ensure your financial freedom in the future? That's coming up in this video. Hi everyone, I'm Martin Bamford, a chartered financial planner at Informed Choice, and in this video I'm talking about the 10 actions that you can take today to ensure your financial freedom in the future. These are 10 tangible actions that you can get on with right now to give yourself a much better chance of achieving financial freedom in your not too distant future. I never make any guarantees. I think that's one of the things I've learned as a financial planner. Nothing in this world is guaranteed, but this improves the likelihood of you achieving financial freedom. If you follow these 10 steps, you will be much further along that journey. So let's get right into it with number one. And number one is to avoid lifestyle creep. What do I mean by lifestyle creep? So lifestyle creep is this weird thing that happens every time we receive a pay rise. We earn more money, and typically if you're an employee, you get a pay rise each year in line with inflation or some other measure. But every time that happens, we go out and we spend a bit more. And that higher level of earnings we have gets absorbed by our higher lifestyle costs. It's human nature. We often do it without really thinking about it. When we've got a few more pounds in the bank account at the end of each month, we'll find a way to spend them. And if you're able to avoid that lifestyle creep, maintain your lifestyle costs at a certain level, but see your income increase year on year, that creates a much bigger gap between what you earn and what you spend, and therefore it creates more money to save and invest for the future for your financial freedom. Now, the best way to avoid lifestyle creep is to budget carefully. So to have a plan of what you're going to spend and make sure you don't exceed that spending plan. That way, when you earn more, when you get a pay rise, when you start a second business or a side hustle, when you generate more income in any sort of way, you can make sure you allocate that not to spending, not on your lifestyle, but on investing for the future. Action number two is only buy things you can afford to buy with cash right now. So if you take on expensive unsecured debt, that's going to act as a drag on your ability to achieve your future financial goals. There's a popular saying in the world of financial freedom, and that's if you cannot afford to buy something twice, you can't afford to buy it once. Not taking on debt to buy the things you want is about discipline. It's about making sure that your future self is not paying for the sins of your current self. So if you take on debt, you are going to pay it back at some point, and at a much higher cost too, because interest is going to get added. But it's your future self who's going to be paying for the pleasure that you experience today. Instead, you want to reverse that, turn it on its head. Make sure your future self is being rewarded by your current self, because your current self is not taking on debt, and more importantly, your current self is saving and investing for the financial freedom of your future self. Your future self will appreciate the actions taken by your present self, whereas your present self disappears in the moment and cannot appreciate what your future self does or doesn't do for you. It doesn't work that way around. So avoid taking on expensive debt to buy the things you want. If you really want something, save for it. Demonstrate that discipline. Show that you can be patient, that you can wait for the thing you want by saving up and not loading yourself up with debt. Number three is to make sure you have smart goals when it comes to your financial freedom. Now, financial freedom is not going to happen for the majority of people by accident. You're not going to wake up one day and suddenly realize that all your bills are paid and covered by your assets, by your recurring passive income. That doesn't happen for the majority of people by accident. It happens because you're intentional. And when we talk about smart goals, we're talking about goals which are specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, and realistic and time-bound. That's the acronym SMART. So have a plan to achieve financial freedom. Don't just assume you're going to wake up 5, 10, 20 years in the future and have got there by accident, because it doesn't work like that. It works when you have a plan, when you monitor your progress, when you have interim milestones towards your big goal of financial freedom. So make sure it's not just one big, hairy, audacious goal. They're good to have, but you also need to have tiny milestones along the way to show you've made progress, to show you're making some progress towards your big goal. Have your SMART goals in place. Action number 4 you can take today to ensure financial freedom in the future is to create a second stream of income. Now, when it comes to building resources, financial resources for the future, for your financial freedom, you can cut expenditure. I'll come on to talk about that in just a moment, but you can also increase your income. Or best still, you can do both. You can cut expenditure and you can increase your income. Now, there is likely to be a cap, a ceiling on the amount of income you can earn from your current employment or your current business, which is why starting a second stream of income, a side hustle, a new business, getting a part-time job, a second job somewhere else, that's a really powerful and effective way to generate more income. And the more income you generate, the more of a gap you create between what you earn and what you spend. And it's that gap that you allocate for the future. You save and you invest. It's easier now than I think it's ever been before to start a side hustle, to generate a second stream of income. My advice here to you is start small and also do something that is not a simple exchange of your time for money. Because if you exchange time for money, it's very difficult to scale that. It's very hard to make it much bigger in the future. There'll always be a limit on what you can do, probably like there is with your current job at the moment or your current business at the moment. So start small, but do something that is scalable. So in time, if you're successful with your side hustle, you can replace your mainstream of income and your side hustle can be your new mainstream of income. Hopefully, it can be sustainable. It can be largely self-generating because it will be system-based. It will be based on passive income, and that will then replace your original employment, your original business. But in the meantime, you're generating more income. You're generating more of a gap between what you earn and what you spend, and you allocate that gap towards your future financial freedom. Action number five is to invest in your health. Now, there's two very good reasons for doing this. Number one is right now. If you invest in your health right now, it's going to give you more energy, it's going to give you more focus to achieve your goals. And if your goal is about financial freedom, you'll have more energy if you're healthy, if you're fit to achieve that goal. Number two, and this is equally as important, is you're not going to store up health problems for the future if you really invest in your health today. And storing up health problems for the future is a really big issue when it comes to financial freedom, because you can work hard for years, you can generate the wealth you need for financial freedom, and then when you get there, you can be far too unhealthy to enjoy it, to enjoy the fruits of your labour. So invest in your health, invest in your fitness, your diet, and your mental well-being as well. These are so important when it comes to financial freedom. Action number 6 is to invest in your knowledge. Now, along with health, I believe that knowledge is one of those things in life that it is never wrong to spend money on. It's an investment in your future because you invest in acquiring knowledge, and that will get you closer to your goals. It will give you the ideas and the toolkit you need to achieve your goals in the future. Part of investing in your knowledge is reading books. Make sure you read widely. You don't just need to read about investing and personal finance subjects. Read everything and anything. This was a tip I picked up when I recently read the Almanac of Naval Ravikant, to read in lots of different areas of life, because you never know when you're going to pick up an idea or a skill set from that acquisition of knowledge by reading widely. At the moment, for example, I'm reading a book about rowing the Atlantic Ocean solo, and already I'm picking up so many ideas and so many useful learning points about financial freedom, about living a better life, and that's what this is all about. So don't limit your reading to investing books. It's often said that if investing is your hobby, you need a different hobby, and I think that's especially the case when you're reading books, you're watching documentaries, you're listening to podcasts. Read and learn and listen widely. Absorb it from everywhere, because you're bound to cross-pollinate your ideas and get ideas from all sorts of different places. Action number 7 is to make sure you are taking calculated risks. Now, we currently are in an ultra low interest rate environment. Leaving your money in cash is probably not going to do much for you in terms of growing your wealth, getting you towards that financial freedom goal of yours. However, there is still an important role for cash to play on that financial freedom journey. It's important, I believe, for everyone to have a cash emergency fund to fall back on when times get tough, when unexpected events happen. Conventional wisdom says keep between 3 and 6 months worth of your committed expenditure, your essential expenditure, in a cash savings fund in case of emergency. I think realistically now that should be 6 to 12 months. 3 to 6 months just does not feel like enough given our recent experience of a global pandemic. So keep your cash reserves in place, but once you have that in place, take calculated risks, invest that money, put that money to work for the future so it can grow over and beyond the sort of return you'll get from your cash savings account. And here I'm talking about taking sensible risks. I'm talking about taking calculated risks, not doing extreme stuff. So stick to mainstream investment asset classes, have a diversified portfolio. I'm talking about UK and global equities, government and corporate debt, commercial property, and a bit of cash too. Mix that stuff up, diversify it so not all of your eggs are in one basket. Please don't go mad and start going into things like precious metals or cryptocurrencies or derivative options. Stick to the mainstream stuff, but you probably do need to take a little bit more risk than cash alone if you want to achieve your financial freedom goals. Focus on the biggest expenses first. Now, you're probably not going to achieve financial freedom by replacing your daily takeaway Starbucks coffee with a coffee you made at home and took to work in a travel mug. These little things done consistently, they do add up over time, but why not start with the big things first? Start by looking at your biggest outgoings and work out how to cut down those expenses first. Now, for most people, our biggest expenditure is our living costs, so our mortgages or rent, followed by things like transportation and also utilities, insurances, food, for example. So in all those big areas of expending, look at how you can cut back, look at how you can save some money. Once you've done that, by all means, move on to the small stuff, because doing lots of small stuff consistently, that will accumulate, that will save you money in the long term. And then make sure you'll allocate those savings towards your future financial freedom goals. But please do start with the big items first. Action number 9 is to develop the self-confidence you need to avoid having to keep up with the Joneses. Now, we often see this, don't we? Neighbours, friends, families who are buying bigger homes, driving better cars, going on expensive holidays, just generally living it large. And we see more of this these days, of course, with social media. Our favourite social media sharing platforms like Instagram, where everyone seems to be on exotic foreign holidays the whole time, showing off the new car they've just taken delivery of, showing off the keys to their new home. If you develop the self-confidence you need to not keep up with the Joneses, then you stop playing that game. You stop playing that game of consumerism. That game where you're being advertised to the whole time, having to buy the latest and the greatest thing. And look, I'll admit, I personally struggle with this. I like the new shiny toys. I love a good new shiny toy in my life. The cars, the phones, anything really that is tech and is fun to experiment with. But I know that when you chase that path, when you don't do it sensibly, when you try and keep up with the Joneses, that leaves less behind to invest for the future. And I would always rather have an investment for the future than something that gives me immediate gratification and a bit of temporary happiness. You want long-term happiness. You don't want this sort of temporary, immediate gratification that doesn't last for long. Go for the long-term stuff, and long-term happiness comes from financial freedom. It comes from knowing that you've got real financial security for you and for your family, for future generations. It doesn't come from keeping up with the Joneses, having the best car in the road, having the biggest house in your circle of friends. So develop that self-confidence you need just to stop playing that game. And then last but not least, action point number 10 is to have a clear purpose. I'm asking you right now, what is your why? What is your motivation for achieving financial freedom? Because without a really clear purpose, without a clear why, it's very hard to have sufficient motivation that will last you, that will get you to that financial freedom point. I'd also suggest that if you have a clear motivation, you have a clear purpose behind financial freedom, don't wait until 10, 20, 30 years in the future when you've achieved it to put that purpose into action. So start giving back now, start doing things for charity, start doing things for your local community, start thinking about your legacy, what it is you want to be remembered for. Don't wait, try and coexist with these things you can do right now to make good use of your time, to live with purpose, to experience life to its fullest, whilst not sacrificing your dream, your goal of financial freedom. So 10 actions there that you can take today to ensure financial freedom tomorrow. I'd love to hear what you think about each of those 10. And if you have any questions, of course, you can leave those in the comments below as well. Do subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. I talk about all sorts of things around personal finance, economics, investing, but also happiness, because at the end of the day, money is a tool and its purpose is to give us happiness. It's about learning how to use money to deliver happiness. That's the trick. So do leave a comment below, do subscribe to this channel. Until next time, I'm Martin Bamford from Informed Choice. And remember, when it comes to your money, the more you know, the faster it can grow.